And it happens again. All right. How are you this week, Grandma?
Doing good. Good to be here.
So, we are back again for another Granny Cast. How was your trip? You just came back from Trinidad, right?
My trip was great. It was good. I had a great time.
And this is... How many times have you been back in the last few years? You started going back again a lot recently, right?
Yeah, this is about my 6 or 7 time back.
But there was a long time where you weren't going so often, right?
Yes.
How does it feel for you to be back home? What does it do for you?
It feels great, to see that I can return to the land of my birth again. After all these years of struggles and trying, and now I'm finally a resident of the United States of America. Feels really great.
Have things changed? When you go back, do you feel like everything is as it should be? You know where everything is? You feel in your heart that you're home? Or are you noticing a lot of differences? Like me, when I come back to Flatbush, because it's been a while since I've lived in Flatbush, there's that feeling of like comfort and knowing where everything is, but then there's that feeling of it being a whole different world than since I left.
No, it's not the same because gang violence has taken over the country. People are not free to do what they want. You're scared to go out. You're scared to do a lot of things. So you're there. You don't even want people to know that you're flying. Yeah. Because it's so dangerous now that you don't know who to trust. So when you go there, it's like a uneasy feeling. You do what you got to do. You just go back to where you stay at. Okay.
But you do experience maybe this feeling of being refreshed, of like, is it a nice... Does everything stop when you go there, or is it still go, go, go? You have so much to do, so many people to chat.
It's still go, 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 because like now I just purchased a piece of land. So I went there, but I was just like going to make sure that things get in place so I could build a house.
All right, we'll take it from the beginning with that. How long had you been wanting to purchase land in Trinidad?
I've been wanting to purchase land in Trinidad since I was like in my 40s. But things didn't go my way, so I couldn't travel. So I was stagnated in America, but now I have the free will to go and come. So that's why at the age of 63, I now purchase a piece of land.
What got you interested? What stoked that fire in you? Because I know it is a lot of people from different places, especially the Caribbean, they want to buy land, right? When they come here, they're not done with their birthplace. They're not done trying to accomplish things back home. I guess first I would say, what was the driving force for you? What turned you on to buying land and wanting to have a piece of land in Trinidad?
Well, first of all, this is not my destiny, America. My destiny is the land of my birth. I have kids there. My roots is there. I was born there. So my thing is always to return to my land and have a structure that I could call home. So that's why, I did that. Because my last days on land wouldn't be here. Okay. It will be my land of my birth, which is Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay, and that's interesting to me because for those that don't know, I did spend a little bit of time working in sales, specifically for a company that's a little regional. Probably you know it if you live in the tri-state area and possibly Connecticut, I forget. But I spent a very short amount of time as an electronics and appliance salesman. And why that relates is often the things that we would sell, first of all, it was off Flatbush. So if you understand anything about Flatbush, heavy West Indian community, and a lot of parts of Brooklyn are like that. So a big part of the customer base would be people buying stuff to furnish houses that they built in the Caribbean. Washers, dryers, TV sets, surge protectors, everything, you name it, right? And what I noticed is a lot of those people, for them, it's an opportunity to make money. It's an opportunity to become a landlord. It's an opportunity to have people. And some of them, it would be their personal residences that they were building similar to you. So they're coming to get security systems and cameras so that they can keep watch. Somebody's been in my yard. I need cameras here and here and here. For you, this is somewhere that you want to be able to call home.
Yes.
It's not somewhere that you have any intention of renting out or leasing or no stuff like that.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Is it land that was already built upon, or is it land that you're planning on building something on?
No, it's not land that built upon. People just now getting into purchase piece of the land. Mm-hmm. So there is not really any structure there yet. Most people just put a foundation, or they just like put like a shack, so nobody don't think that the property is empty.
Yeah.
And resell it, because like me, who lives in America, they wouldn't see me around often, so they may think it's vacant land, and they may want to either build on it or resell it, and then I got a problem to go back there and fight during the court system.
Yeah, that's a big thing that happens too, is right, people pretend to be owners of land and will sell land that's not actually for sale. That's right. And then you have somebody who's essentially started a life on this land. As far as they know, they own the land because they've never run into any problems, because you're unawares. And that's an interesting situation, because I think from the perspective of the original owner of the land, as yourself, there's kind of that part of you that's like, doesn't necessarily see how heartbreaking that is for the person who was fooled. Yes. But then there's the part of you that's like, this is a person that was trying to do the same thing you were doing. Yes. And because they were maybe too trusting or not particularly educated or was in such a... Because what people would do is take advantage of what is, for lack of a better term, like a desperation, a hunger. When people see that people want to do positive things for themselves, a lot of people will come in and take advantage of that. They'll take advantage of that hunger. Where here you have somebody who is really looking to do something positive for themselves and their family. But sometimes when we're in such a rush, when we're so excited for something, we want it to come so easy. And every time something seems too good to be true, we might convince ourselves, well, it's just God making it easy for me, or this is this, or this is that. What do you think your thoughts would be if you came to find that somebody totally innocent and unawares thought that they had bought land that you already own?
Well, my thoughts would be to be, reason with them and let them know that it was scam, because the land don't belong to the person who sold it to them. I am the sole proprietor of the land. So I'm sorry that you get scammed into this, but I am the owner, and I really don't know what to tell you, because the person that sell you, they scam you out of your own money. Yeah. And we know too that sometimes the circumstances can be really dangerous. A lot of the people that involve themselves in these type of scams are not to be trifled with, and so they're not really worried about what happens when the person figures it out, right? Because the person doesn't dare try to cross them, or try to exact justice on them, or seek justice, because honestly, a lot of the areas that we're talking about are in somewhat of a lawless state. Yes. And we'll speak a little bit about that, especially with Trinidad. Something that I was made privy to over the last few years is that there was like a nationwide curfew established. How long did that last? It didn't last very long, because from my perspective, the gangs rule the country right now. They take over. The tax business people out of their own business. And the most thing there is that the police service is corrupt. Yeah. These people got these people watching the back. Yeah. So we, as civilized citizens, we don't have the driving force to fight against these people, because these people have higher protection. Yeah. And then you get demonized by the rest of the world. Why are they allowing their country to fall into such despair? Why are they sitting and the third? And for me personally, something that has been ironically, and it has nothing to do with the state of Trinidad, although it is something that I'll be looking into much more, because it does connect. I found myself over the last few years doing an extensive, and really accidentally, not realizing how much it all connected until I began reading into it all. But I began looking into the history of the mafia. And even if you go back beyond that, the history of what we often mistake for the mafia. But the mafia is a very American thing that comes from certain organizations in Sicily and stuff like that have, like you said, have gotten themselves so entrenched in government and police forces and stuff like that, where it is just you as a regular citizen, or even as a successful businessman, politician, you have to deal with these people. Yes. You have to deal with these people, and you cross them at the risk of your life. It's not a game. It's not you
necessarily succumbing to corruption. It is, if you are not able to be bought or corrupted in some way, and you happen to find yourself organizing and gaining power that threatens this structure that is the underbelly, that is a shadow state, you are taking your life into your hands, quite literally.
Yes.
And you see that in those kind of brotherhood organizations in Sicily. You saw that America worked really hard to clean that shit up in the United States when it was happening really, really bad in the early 1900s with different mafia factions and stuff like that. You had the Irish mafia, you had the Jewish mafia, you had this, you had that. America was having none of it. But it's very difficult to catch and stop in its tracks. And if you don't, it begins to seep into everything. This is what we're seeing with the cartels in Mexico. This is what we saw with the rise of piracy.
Yes.
The rise of piracy in the late 1800s and 1700s and such, where we saw pirates, and this is where you get phrases like Pirates of the Caribbean and stuff like that. These were people, and a lot of them were wronged, right? And a lot of them experienced maltreatment on merchant ships, on Navy ships, and found themselves with these abilities to navigate the seas and to sail, but just being taken advantage of and extorted. And so what they would do is they would begin to start to dominate these areas of lawlessness, which the West Indies and the Caribbeans were, right? Because you had these nations that were establishing colonies there who couldn't be there to police them properly. So places like the Bahamas became what was known as like the Pirate Republic.
Yes.
Nassau in the Bahamas, like the pirates ran that, right?
Yes.
There was, and the government was like, you either work with whoever was installed. It would be like one governor of the island who would just like represent the whole entire power structure and be left to deal with these people who oftentimes were ruthless, would kill you because they saw opportunity. Wherever people see that there's leniency and flexibility of government and opportunities to create their own, especially back then when people were used to a little bit more freedom. And this is what happens in a lot of these countries like the old Sicily, like Mexico, like Trinidad, where it's like for the longest people came up with a certain amount of freedom. Not the good kind of freedom, but just a freedom where the law simply was not apt enough, was not large enough, and was not present enough to offer protection and justice. Nor were they interested in doing so.
No.
And so what you see is this culture is allowed to develop and fester, and before long, without intervention from some other country or massive revolution in the streets by the people, you can't take these structures back, right? The backbone of the society is built on that, right? This is where there's a significant amount of money. And anywhere where you find a significant amount of money, you will find people willing to work around it. When these things begin to support the economy. Not that the economy can't be supported by other things, but currently these things support the economy. People would probably be shocked to know how much the government and the powers that be actually receive and benefit from the massive amounts of income that these shadow organizations and that they incur.
100%.
That they accrue.
100%.
And this is what makes stuff like buying land in these places kind of precocious. For people like you who have innocent ideals, right? You simply want to do things the right way. You've moved across the world in order to better your life.
Yes.
And you want to add productivity to the place where you're from. You want to be a responsible land-owning citizen.
Yes.
You want to build what really is the dream. They call a lot of this stuff the American dream, but really it's a dream of freedom. Right?
Correct.
What we all want for ourselves, those of us who are unwilling to be unsavory.
Yes.
But some of that stuff has touched our family in a lot of ways, right?
Yes, it did. Mm-hmm. Because, the place is ruled by violence, and there's a stigmatism in certain areas. And if they want you to be a part of the gang and you don't want to be, your whole family is in jeopardy because now they have this thing, death by association, because you might have a son who is in the gang, and because they can't get him or they want to teach him a lesson, they will destroy his whole family. Yeah. Just to get him to know we mean business, so it's not safe anymore for anybody. For instance, me going back there and living in a foreign country, it's dangerous for me because people might think, oh, she lives in foreign, she got money, she got a son, so. Let's go after her.
Yeah.
Where and there, I'm just a humble citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. I came out to make life on my own, and I tried whatever money I accumulate from working honest and hard and say, you know, I'm going to go back home now and settle myself because I'm older and wants a good life for me so I could be comfortable in my old days. That become a threat for me as a foreigner.
Yeah.
Because it's so dangerous. I could go to the cop and say, you harassing me. But I don't know the cop that I am telling that you harassing me and you doing business. So I put my life on the line now by going to think I'm looking for protection.
Yeah.
When I only making more problems for me.
And we have a side of our family that I didn't know about until very recently who sacrificed so much of their ability to live happy lives for power in these enclaves. Names that we won't mention because they are family, and I'm a little ignorant of what happens and everything that goes on. But some of our cousins are closer to that side of the family than we may be. And they're not even fairly. Some of them have been like on Trinidad's Most Wanted and stuff like that. Like they are big time serious criminals. And as family of them, we understand that like it's not the existence that you would think. It's not this glorified 1950s mafia thing where like John Gotti is like the man around town and has all this political. These people are afraid for their lives. These people can't move freely. They can't just go places, right? Yeah. You're building all this money, and this is the problem with money in the service of just getting richer. There's a wonderful thing that financial freedom can afford you.
Yes.
But when it's ill-gotten in these ways, when it's built on violence, when it's built on taking advantage of people and war, when it's built on waging war in the streets, it doesn't come with freedom. It's a chain. It's a chain. These people are chained to this power. They're chained to this money. When you can't go to a store and pick up something for your child without a caravan, without several other cars, when your car is in the middle because you understand what I'm saying?
Correct. When you can't even party.
Yeah.
You can't go nowhere without an entourage because it's the crime rate is so high. Yeah. And if you involve in certain situations, you can't go out there alone.
No.
You always have an entourage. And part of the entourage, unfortunately, is a cop.
And you have to think that a lot of them just never get to a point of enlightenment where they never question these things.
No.
But you have to think that an enlightened person who seriously thought about these things, if they had a chance to go back and do it, why would they bother? Why would they bother with this lifestyle, right? You what made you fall in love with collecting all this money and collecting all this influence if it's a jail cage, right? It is its own cage. You're not enjoying life. You don't have the freedom to go walk the streets with your child.
No, definitely not. You could be gunned down with your child in your hand.
Yeah. Right?
Definitely not.
And that's what matters to your child is your presence. And oftentimes what we see with these people is you inadvertently push your child into that life. Sometimes on purpose, which I think is the worst.
Correct.
And the biggest sin. But you inadvertently push your child into this life because number one, it's what they respect. And number two, they just have not had an opportunity to see a normal life outside of that. And they want to be close to you and they're searching. Children want to be nurtured. They want to be rewarded. They want to be like their parents.
Correct.
And so there you go, sacrificing a whole nother generation.
Yes.
To what I have come to realize, and as I've aged, is to what is nonsense.
Nonsense.
Essentially, and just the most interesting thing about it, though, is that you'll see these same people. Their faith in the Lord won't always be shaken.
No.
Right? Where it's like a lot of the time, these same people will like. They won't let you disrespect God in front of them, or they won't do it. But it's ironic to me because everything about the way you live suggests that God doesn't have too much respect for you.
Correct.
Right? For people like this, not to say that any of us are exempt from the love of God. I'm not. That's not what I would say.
No,
but it's weird how we form these different parts of our identities. Yes. And I guess to bring it all around is, you know, these people. You've seen them as children, right? And Correct. It's like, what, from your observation, what is there something that breaks one day where it's just like you don't understand or you can't relate to this person anymore? You just don't know where it's switched? Because like a quiet kid who never really made any trouble and stuff like that, and then becomes this vicious, brutal
My
kingpin.
Thing is, the government have a lot to do with this. Because our country was overthrown by Muslim, not foreign Muslim, but Trinidad Muslim, by Yasmin Abu Bakr. And this man was so powerful and he was not in government. And he started to recruit the young guys off the street, giving them sneakers and nice clothes and everything that, you know, they had desire. So after that, we become like that. And then we had Venezuela, who's close to us. They were going through a struggle. They didn't have no food, but they had ammunition. So what they were doing, they were trading ammunition for food. So that's how we get all these guns into the country. And now the same Venezuelan, they have piracy. So a good fisherman who go out there to fish to feed his family, he's being captured. And over there, for a ransom, the family don't have the ransom, you never see them again.
It is incredible. For you, who is a woman of a certain age, who has seen her country change, when is the first time you remember seeing that there was a massive shift? We just spoke a little bit about the gentleman who came to amass a lot of power, even though he wasn't in government and stuff like that. When were you first aware of how serious, how deadly, and how long-standing some of these actions would be?
I became aware of this in 1989 when my last son was born in 1988. And in 1989 we had an overthrow of the government by the Muslims. And that is when the country had changed. He had killed so much young men, so much people lost their life. I even lost a sister-in-law in that event. She was a clerk in the Red House. She was 7 months pregnant and she gets shot. And she was there for days.
And what is the Red House? The Red House is something...
The Red House is like the White House in America.
But I think people would be very
heads of governments gather. So the day that we was overthrown, it was the day that it was reading the budget. So if the budget is reading, that is include the Prime Minister and head of governments in there. So they know when was to strike. So after that year, we had a lot of differences of how we used to be. When I was a child, it was beautiful. Everybody parent because the community was raising everybody. So if I could have gone into my neighborhood 1 a.m. in the morning, 2 a.m. in the morning, and there would be somebody outside or group say, "Well, you know, coming from this hour," and they will walk you to your gate. Those days, it was love, peace, happiness. I was raised in the ghetto. And I could tell you, in those days, the ghetto had a lot of love. We have little card game and thing, man, work the whole week and they come to play the little game to amuse yourself, a little roamy and little this, that. I would have just a normal fight breakout. Fists. We throw 2 rocks. That's what we didn't know. But there's a vast difference in the neighborhood I grew up in to now. Because this is a neighborhood, if I go to visit and I am in a vehicle, I cannot ride in that neighborhood with my glass up. From the time I'm entering the vicinity of where I was raised, I got to lower my glass. Because if I go in there with my glass up, I could be gunned down. Because they don't know who coming in. Could be an enemy, so they're going to shoot. Got to be careful. And this was a loving, nice, kind neighborhood. Now it's ruled by gang.
And you see these types of connections. And a lot of people listening to this podcast, some of them will be surprised, some of them won't be surprised. You see elements of this kind of lifestyle. It can't get as bad on a grand scale because of what America is, but you see neighborhoods in Chicago, certain neighborhoods in certain parts of Brooklyn where, yeah, you can't ride slowly through this neighborhood with tints on without the possibility of being shot, without anybody having confirmed your identity. Something that is perfectly normal in the United States of America to have tints on your car and stuff like that. There's a legal limit or whatever, but you shouldn't expect fellow citizens to murder you simply because they don't know who you are. It's not only just that they don't know who you are. They're murdering you because they don't know who you are, which is just something that is so far away from what we see as the goal of society, right? As people who we really are living in one of the greatest times to be a human being in the history of the world, one of the safest times in the history of the world, but some of the violence and the the extreme degree to which violence still lives and permeates in some areas of every nation is incredible.
Very incredible.
It is incredible. To witness. It is incredible to hear about. And for someone like you who grew up pre that violence, because now what we're seeing is generations born into it. Who can't, they're believing in the myths that are made about the glory of the gang and why this was established and it's being steeped in all these, you mythologize things. You turn them into these grand stories similar like King Arthur and his court, right? Like, well, this person is really misunderstood and Larry Hoover was trying to better the community when he, is really not responsible, but has a huge accountable part to play in destroying the neighborhoods of Chicago and the country at large. We lionize these people, and now you have this young generation who just is running on fumes and myth making.
Oh yes,
and can sit there and tell you for hours why there's some sort of honor and why they're seeking their own version of justice, when really what they're doing is destroying communities
and destroying their own side because. What make it more dangerous is that it have a lot of deportees from here that went home and encouraged this because they were into the gang here, they get deported and they went home and they educate these fellas about it. So now we're dying by death of association because you might be my nephew, I could die for that. Or I might have a son that involved in the gang where I'm completely clean and serving God and I have nothing to do with that. And I could die for that because it's called death by association. So what they will call me now in my country is a foreigner. So me as a foreigner going in have to be very particular and lie very low.
Of course.
Because I don't want everybody... Oh, she's here. Oh, you don't know who is who, and you don't know the grudge to hold it.
No.
These guys killing babies and breasts, mothers, nurses, they don't care. They have no respect. In my days of growing up, I had to respect my elders. There isn't that anymore. There is no law, no order, pure lawlessness. They don't care.
And I think that is something that more Americans in underprivileged, underserved communities can relate to than they understand. It may not be to the extreme. But it's shocking where you'll go to places that have convinced themselves that they're better than that.
Correct.
And they're dealing with some of the same problems and will have the nerve to look down on people overseas or across the world.
And talk about the projects overseas and this and that. But what I always try to explain to people, my land is very small, 196 square. America is a vast difference because one area in America, one street could take me back to my hometown. If we could drive. So they cannot compare the crime rate here to what's going on there.
And that brings me back to something I wanted to touch upon that you mentioned earlier, where I think a lot of Americans would be fascinated by the concept of what I've heard you call the Red House, what I've heard some people call the Red Building. You described it as being similar to the White House.
Of course.
But because Trinidad is such a smaller place, and I always say one of my popular theories, and popular like anybody knows what I'm talking about, but one thing that I say quite often, and I'm sure I'm not the only person that has said it, is one of the reasons that I think America runs into so many political issues and the country is so divided is simply because it is too large.
Of course.
It is a country that was based on the spirit of colonization, the spirit of conquering territory. And when you listen to the song and it says from sea to shining sea, that's not normal. That's an empire, right?
Correct.
That is, if you were back in the times of the Romans, of the Greeks, of the Chinese dynasty and all those things, that is conquering people who are very different, who live in different territories, have different climates, have different lifestyles, have different personalities about them. They say that like people from the Northeast are a specific type of person. People from certain areas of the South are different. Louisiana, we don't know what they're doing in New Orleans. Those are just different humans.
Yes.
Louisiana, New Orleans, Florida, those are different human beings. But I always say when I raise this question, why should a person in Florida or Texas, why should they be voting in the best interest for a person in New York? Why?
I don't get
Why
it.
should they? The country is far too large. Why would you tell somebody in California that they should be worried? And we know on an ethical level, right? We're a part of a nation. We want to care about other people. You should care about the entire world.
Yes.
In these kinds of ways. You should want people in China to be free. You should want people there to be free. You should not want people's civil liberties trampled anywhere.
No.
But on a basic political level, you're asking someone in California to vote for the best interests of someone in Texas. You're asking somebody in California to vote for the best interests of somebody in Connecticut. That doesn't make any sense, right? No. So when we speak about something like the Red Building, it's fascinating that it is like the White House, because also something I've heard is that that's somewhere where somebody anywhere in Trinidad would go to receive their birth certificate or a government document.
Okay, your marriage certificate, your birth certificate. It's a very important building.
And no matter where you live in Trinidad, that's where you go to get that stuff done. People can't imagine that. Imagine a New Yorker having to go to Washington, D.C. to get anything done.
Because
to get a driver's license, to get a birth certificate.
Don't forget, we're Trinidad and Tobago. But we one country.
Yeah.
So people in Tobago got to travel to Trinidad if they need these documents.
Which is, again, so fascinating to me as somebody who was born here.
Yes.
Right? Because that, I think, is the big difference. And I think when we get on these podcasts together, one thing that I love to highlight is how you have shaped me, but how different our experiences have been. Imagine living in California and having to go to Washington, D.C. to get anything governmental done. The world couldn't progress the way it progresses now, right?
No.
And when you have this enclave, what happens now is what you talked about with the country getting overthrown, where it's like running into the Red Building freezes the entire country.
Yes.
What happened on January 6th at the Capitol, it did seize the nation, but it did not. People in New York City still went to work.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
They didn't have to stay home because there was a state of emergency.
No.
People were at work as that unfolded.
Yes.
The world did not stop.
No.
Washington, D.C. stopped.
Unfold from where we are.
Exactly. That cannot be the case in Trinidad.
No.
When they run in that Red Building, the entire country stops.
Stop.
Yeah.
For weeks.
Yeah.
There were dead body lying in the street that nobody could have reached.
And you lost a family member in that.
I lost my sister-in-law in that. She was 7 months pregnant. And she was shot.
In the crossfire, or she was executed as a hostage?
No, she was shot in the crossfire in the stairwell of the Red House.
Jesus Christ.
Because the guys that overthrew the government, they knew this man that overthrew the government, he was very educated. He went to Harvard up here. He was very educated.
This man that overthrew the government in Trinidad and Tobago.
He went to Harvard University.
Harvard educated in the United States of America.
Yes, sir. He was.
So if I had to guess, which I don't know, and I will be doing my research after this.
He was.
If I had to guess, right, is he probably someone that comes from a very powerful Middle Eastern family?
No, he was born.
He was born here.
Trinidadian.
He was a born Trinidadian.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Huh.
He had the opportunity to come to go to Harvard up here.
But where is his family from, right? Because we have people who are born Trinidadians who are like from India and they're Trinidad, and they carry on.
He's a born-bred Trinidadian.
Really?
Yeah. Yes, he was.
So how does he come to be Muslim?
You could just get up and be a Muslim. You could go take a shot and be a Muslim.
But was it familial? Like, okay, so a lot of the Muslims in Trinidad, right? They have roots in India. So like a lot of the Muslims and Punjabs in Trinidad and stuff like that, they can trace themselves back to. And I'm saying that wrong.
Talking about the Indian Muslim? We have black Muslims. A lot of Muslims that look like me and you.
And they're not connected to any African nations that are
No
Muslim.
Indian,
just,
no anything.
Wow.
They're just Muslims and they're black like me and you.
Yeah.
Raised, born, and bred in my country.
Yeah, they're Afro-Trinidadian.
Yes.
Okay. That to me.
But this man was a very educated young man. Very educated. Look him up.
So, do you suspect that he was a Muslim from young, or do you suspect? And again, I'll look all this up and I'll know.
I believe he became a Muslim when he was a big man, not young. He was never a Muslim. Because this man have his own schools. Yeah. He have everything. He have doctors, lawyers, nurses.
And that's something that we see too, right? Because somebody like me, and I hope anybody who's made it this far in the podcast, I hope they don't see this as demonizing anything.
No.
A person like me, I have a great deal of respect for the Islamic community. What we see is a co-opting of the religion for selfish purposes. It's something that we've seen in many communities. In the jails and prisons across the United States, we see people co-opting Islam for their own reasons. Now, why Islam is a religion that they feel like they can get away with perverting that way, I don't know.
Wow.
Because it's so rare that you see somebody co-opt Judaism. And again, I want to stress, this is not me saying anything negative about Islam. I have a lot of respect for all religions, and I don't believe there's anything inherently wrong with Islam. I don't.
No.
But it's interesting to me, and as I further my own personal education, because I plan to read every religious text I can get my hands on, I would be interested to see what it is about Islam that people seem to think they can repurpose for their own gain.
My thing about the Islamic community, they're very organized. They're very together. If you look at a Muslim man, whether he on the train, in a store, he's on the street, wherever this man is, he don't forget to pray. They are very organized people.
Yeah.
Me as a Christian, I gotta work and I go in on about my business and I don't take time out to pray. These Muslims could be on the train, the bus, they pray and they are very devoted to the religion. That is why they're so much into anything the leader tell them they're going to carry out.
And that's what you think is that it is that ability to produce structure that leads to bad mind people trying to use the religion to control people, right? Because even me, as much as I think that certain people, like certain people who are part of the Nation of Islam, which is like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and all that things, as much as I think some of those people want to do good, I do think it is a perversion of the Islamic religion for selfish purposes. When you look at who the quote-unquote Honorable Elijah Muhammad was...
Elijah Muhammad was a humble man. He never created war.
But I also think to an extent he was a charlatan. He tried to convince people that he was somebody he was not, right? And this is why he fell out with Malcolm X.
We have to understand these two types of Muslims. We have Sunni Muslims and we have the regular Muslims. Sunni Muslims are fighters. They fight. They raise war. So, my thing is, if we say that we serve in God, or we serve in Allah, or we serve in the Most High God, we should be peaceful.
Indeed.
Because the Most High God is a peaceful man. He don't like strife and he don't like war. He's a man of peace. He's a man of love. He's a man of unity. So when we have this religious war, we're fighting against ourselves. That's not what the Most High
intends for us, right?
This is not what he sacrifices his life for. We all have different beliefs. There are many denominations, but there is one God. I might say a cow is my God or this, but there is many denominations. If right now as me and you sit here and that sky bursts and this man make his appearance, we are all the same. There is no difference with him. White, black, pink, blue. He said, I am the Lord thy God. I am the most high God. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. No man see my Father and still live. I was sent as a messenger to the world. We create our own different cultures and our own different demise and things that our way is the right way. But our God is one God. He's the most true and loving, merciful Father. So whether he's Muslim, we's Hindus, we's Christian, we's Baptist, we's this, it all comes down to one thing. He said there's only one God but me.
And to take it back to what we were talking about, right? So you have this gentleman, Harvard educated in the United States, is able to amass power for himself and begins to organize an overthrowing of the government.
He started to recruit. He never make a day in jail because he get the prime minister that had held hostage. Now I'm telling you, this is reading of the budget. Heads of government is in the Red House, just like the White House. Because you read in the budget, the prime minister is the one who says yay, nay, whatever. So he knows when was to overthrow. They were reading, let me tell you how this go. He take over the TV station when they were reading the news at 7 p.m. And then the rest hold the hostage, Red House. So you know what's in the Red House? The prime minister and heads of government. So then this man is a very educated, well-structured being. He knew what he was doing.
How does he never go to jail?
Because he had the prime minister hostage. And he allowed him to sign an amnesty. If you sign an amnesty, you can't go to jail. I'm telling you, this man was a Harvard man.
This to me is incredible, though, because I feel like had that happened in the United States, as soon as we got the president back, it'd be like, no, you're going to jail, right? And this is the thing about traditions and government being afraid to set precedents where it's like, nobody in their right mind would have had any problem with them tearing that fucking amnesty out. As soon as they got the prime minister back and everything like that, nobody would have batted an eye if they said, you and we all know by the principles of ethics that this amnesty does not stand and we will not support it and you're going to jail. Do you think that he had connections in government even at that point to get that, or do you think people were just being slaves to tradition?
I don't.
Where they saw an amnesty and they said, "There's nothing we can do about it." I think they were slave in
tradition. This man was very powerful. He had so much education. I took my own eyes and see he walk out just like this. He and all his comrades. Up to now, we'd have two who was with him in the neighborhood I grew up in, still alive and sung and
holy cow. This is truly fascinating.
They held the head of the news media. And this guy was to even put his name on the list of all the people that was calling for. So they think he had died. In my days, I born in the 60s. He was Jones P. Madera. He was a head of the news media. And everybody think he was dead. Emergency was standing by. Everything was standing by. I happened to be in the General Porter Spain Hospital at the time because my son was born in 1988. The 12th of November, he fell sick right at the cool moment. So for me to get my son medical help, there was this Rasta man. I said, listen, my son's sick and I got to go to the hospital. And he said, Empress, we going. By the time we was driving, we was stopped because it's a coup. It's emergency.
Yeah.
So we was stopped. And when we was stopped, we had to put a white cloth to show there's no threat. And when we was stopped, my paws raising talking about this. They say, where you all going? And I say, my son's sick. And we're trying to get to the hospital. And he say, okay, stop here. He radio. We was in the middle, police in the back, soldiers in the front to escort us safe to the hospital. And the whole hospital was shut down because they're looking for the head of the news to come in. So all surgeries, everything was cancelled in case this man come in. And they were just calling for the head, Jones P. Madeira, Jones P. Madeira. He was well and alive, but he forget. He was so busy putting everybody who held hostage, he forget his name. So everything was shut down until they get word that this man alive.
Mm-hmm.
I was there, most present. I didn't have a bath, no brush my teeth for 3 days. We was not allowed to use the nurse's bathroom or nothing. We were just there. I'm telling you, I had poop in my head because my son had a diarrhea and vomiting. He get, gastro.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no way like America where we could lay on a sofa or nothing. I was sitting on a sitting chair and I leaned my head because I was so exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
And he pooped. So I was in poop, no brushing teeth, because once we go in, we couldn't come out.
Yeah.
So I was there for days. No shower, no brushing teeth with poop in my head.
Mm-hmm.
That's how bad it was. And they would just keep calling for this man, Jones P. Madeira, Jones P. Madeira, and everything was just shut down. Dead bodies. Port of Spring General was stink. Rotten corpses.
The stink of death.
Yes. And the army was fighting against the Muslims, gunshot. They couldn't get to pick up no bodies. They were looting and burning and everything. We went through a really tough time.
And as a person who considers himself, I would never call myself a historian. I think anybody intelligent enough to know what a historian is knows that I'm damn well not qualified to call myself that. But as a person who is trying to study history, I could only imagine that this event caused mass discrimination against what have to be the many Indian Muslims.
Man,
the Indian Muslims who were already peacefully living.
And I'm going to tell you this.
Mm-hmm.
When the country was overthrown, I was going to nursing school.
Mm-hmm.
I was down where they pass. I was on the street because after work, we'll go to school and then me and my friend will go to this restaurant and we'll do homework and thing together.
Mm-hmm.
And I was standing on the corner when this thing happened. They were like on high-lock vehicles. I was like, they was like saying, everybody in the street, get out of the street. People was in the cinemas. And I still didn't comprehend what they were heading to the Red House, where heads of government was. Muslims dressed in white caps, truckloads. And I was saying, like, what happened? And there was no taxi. People were scrambling to get to where they living. We walked for miles. That time I was living in a place named Movan. I had to walk from Port of Spain to there. That was a big walk. People was running for their life.
And it was a dangerous walk.
Dangerous. For your life. I was all dressed in my nursing uniform. Couldn't change into civilian clothes. But the good thing about this, the police say, the nurses, the soldiers and the army, we were one.
Mm-hmm.
So we was working like a team.
Yeah.
There, because I didn't just come to America to do nurse. I was already a nurse there.
Mm-hmm.
I make a choice to come out here. But when I arrived here, any documents you have for Trinidad, it wasn't valid here.
Mm.
And I had left my kids with my mom. So I had to do anything to survive, to send money back for her to look after my kids.
Yeah.
So when I came here, I was doing what they would call house cleaning, taking care of kids. I was cooking food for the family, and I was working for $250 a week.
Yeah.
I was
One thing that stood out
out
about me is when you said you found a job in the paper, the Irish Echo.
I found myself a job in the Irish Echo.
Long Island, right?
My success here, it don't come from nobody.
No, it comes from...
It come from me,
Yeah.
willing to work and willing to push myself. I paid my dues for this country.
Mm-hmm.
I work like a dog. I'm still is. And I have never depended on a soul to help me in this country. This apartment here, you was born and raised in this apartment. This apartment here have history. This was your mom's, and it becomes your grandma own. So we have history here. We not just living. We have history.
Yeah.
We have roots in America.
This house has seen several generations of this family.
Correct.
And so two things I want to talk about, and then we'll talk about music, because we were supposed to talk about music on this podcast.
Yes.
And we just ended up getting into such what I think is phenomenal, important topics. The one thing I'll ask is, what effect did you see this have? Because one thing people may or may not know about Trinidad and many West Indian nations in general is there is, number one, it's extremely multicultural. Number two, there is a massive, in Trinidad and Guyana specifically, a massive South Asian, which is Indian
Correct.
population.
Half of my country is Indian.
Many of them are Hindu, many of them are Muslim.
Yes.
How did this affect the millions? Maybe they're not millions because of this is a smaller country, but how did this affect what would have to be the hundreds of thousands of peaceful South Asian descended Muslims living in the country? Did they see a rise in being demonized in the media? Was there this Islamophobia that developed?
No, I wouldn't say that.
Okay, because we saw after 9/11 happened in the United States, the Muslim community here was treated very
badly. No,
and we
didn't have that. And the thing with my country, we had racialism. We suffered that because as an Afro-American, I can go into Indian territory. I wouldn't come out alive. And then when the Indians were interested in the black men, they were being murdered by the family because there were racialism going on.
Yeah. Which I'm glad you say that, because you're of a certain generation. What I can't stand now is when I hear people, and I've heard Jamaicans say it, I've heard Trinidadians say it. These are usually people my age who did not grow up there, mind you.
No.
We don't have racism back there. It's not a big...
Oh, that's not true.
First of all...
That's not true.
A lot of the people making music back then, the reggae artists and everything like that, were very aware of racism that they went through. So I'm not sure where they come up with this idea that racism is not a big deal.
No. That's not true.
In the West Indies. I don't know if it's something
was
that...
well aware in the West Indies.
Yeah, I don't know if it's something that people try to convince themselves that they're better than other places.
If an Indian woman was married to a black man like you, she was poisoned by her family. That was not prohibited. Now my two brothers married to Indian women.
Oh yeah, we got what's she name? Tanti Saucy?
Yeah, if our family is very cosmopolitan. If you see your generation, you would not believe is your family bloodline. Because we have all kind of people mixing.
Yeah, and you get interesting dynamics where Tanti Saucy is blacker than I.
Yes.
But has very South Asian features, right?
Yes. And her kids is very like Ashley. But the father is Indian because she was married to an Indian man.
And one of her parents was Indian as well, right?
No.
Okay.
No. Because her parent is my parent.
There we go.
Or my dad was born in Grenada, which we don't know our family's side of Grenada.
There we go.
And my mother, she's Trinidadian, but she was from a Bajan descendant. Oh. So we's a cosmopolitan race.
Yeah.
So I have family that I don't know. Because, for instance, I have a friend here, he's torn, and he's a Bajan. And my mother's side of the family was torn from Barbados.
So you could be related to this
We could be related to this guy. So my father's side of the family is Bartholomew from Grenada, which we never met. And
which is always interesting
also
because
the husband.
One day I randomly felt, like in my bones I felt this. I'm not a superstitious person, so I'm not going to say this came through some spiritual divination. I'm just not going to say that. But one day I came to you and I said that I wanted to name a son if I had Bartholomew. Right? And every woman I've ever involved myself in has let me know that is not happening. Oh. And ever since, every woman that's been involved in my life since I came up with this idea has let me know there will be no Bartholomew. However, I remember telling you that story, and it was not something I had known that our original family name was Bartholomew. It was just a name that I felt this attachment to. So I just think that that's a funny story that the audience, they'll read into that, whatever they read into it. I remember you telling me that you felt like it was a message from God.
Of course.
And, of course, to hear you say something like that is always going to weigh in my heart, right, heavily. But what I would say as well that I want to touch upon is this diversity of culture, right? Is this diversity of culture and how it impacted you? Because I do think that there are certain nations where living in that nation, for lack of a better term, does feel like being a citizen of the world, right? Like New York City is one of those places in America, a lot of America's like that, where you just have an experience and are around so many people of different cultural backgrounds and faith. What do you think was the impact that growing up in such a culturally diverse place had on you?
It didn't really have no hold on me because at the time, when I was a kid, there is certain neighborhood we know as Negroes. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't go. Okay. Because if you go, you're not going to come back alive.
But there is this cross-pollination, right, where it's like we are a very Afro-Caribbean, Afro-Trinidadian family, right? We are African-descended people. You can see it. You can look at us. There's been mixing at points, as we've spoken about. But at the same time, a favorite dish of ours is curry chicken roti, right? Stuff like that. So you see this melding where curry dishes, that is an Indian thing.
That's an Indian delicacy.
But in Trinidad, a family like ours who's Afro-Trinidadian, who's African people, that is cultural heritage to us as well. Like, we have a very special relationship with curry on that island in general. A lot of people make it a joke, but it's not a joke, right? And even in Jamaica, they love curry chicken and everything. But
our side of your family, that's not our national dish. Our national dish is like something called pilau. We cook callaloo, we bake pie, we do different things, but our main dish is like the pilau we know for. Curry belongs to the Indians. That's not the
So how does it get to a stage, right? When you were growing up, was curry such a big deal for Afro-Trinidadians as well, or did you watch that change?
No, we like the curry. We still love the curry. It's roti. Yeah. Roti belongs to the Indians. Yeah. But now we can make it as black people.
And we love it.
We can't say it belongs to us. It's not a black thing. It's an Indian culture. But we love it.
But by the time you were born, which is 60 plus years ago, it was already a staple in black Trinidadian households.
Yeah. We cook our own curry. We cook the dishes. But I tell you one thing. They can't cook pilau. But we can make roti.
How do you think that came about?
Because the Russians, they don't want to cook pilau. Why would they cook pilau?
No, but how do you think we got so good at making roti?
Because we're very intellect. We don't understand they call us Trinidadians. We're very good.
Yeah?
We're very good. We can imitate any man language. We're very versatile. You know, if you live in America and you hear somebody say, that's a Saudi, Trinidadian. They say that's a yard man, Jamaica.
That's always so fascinating to me. I learned so much about what is my heritage. And to speak just about cultural diversity as well, for those that don't know, on my biological father's side, I'm Jamaican, right? Correct. And we are Afro-Jamaicans. We don't look like anything but black people.
No.
However, anybody who's ever heard a Jamaican and an Irish person speak in any proximity to each other picks up that there's a big similarity between the Jamaican English dialect and the Irish English dialect. And my family name on my Jamaican side is O'Brien, right? Which is you can't make any mistakes about where that name is from. No. It is an Irish name complete with a family crest. You understand what I'm saying?
Just as St. Vincent, they mix with Irish, most of them, because in those days the ship used to come in. My father is a white man, born-bred white man.
And along with sailors and Navy men, you would have indentured servants as well, mixing with the slave population of the island.
There's a lot of kids born that don't even have a daddy.
Yeah.
Because there were sailors come ashore. Sparrow sing about that.
Yeah. Or even Bob Marley would sing, because a lot of the time, and this is what happens, people tend to forget people were currency in that day and age. People are still currency now, but it's black market stuff, stuff that's quote-unquote frowned upon. People were currency back then. There were merchant ships that were carrying fruit, sugar, vegetables. There were merchant ships that were carrying people, slaves. Bob Marley, the merchant ship, Rabbi, and all that thing. That is the reality, and that is somebody educating about history, right? A slave ship. Now we call it a slave ship. That was a merchant ship. Before. Those people were products.
Yes,
like sugarcane, like fruit, like any other thing.
That is how we have so much Indian there, because the ancestors were slaves. They were bought there. Yeah. And who remained there after slavery was abolished.
And the people that almost never get talked about, Hispanic cultures in the Caribbean do a better job, I think, recognizing and talking about the native Taino Indian population that existed on all these Caribbean islands before they came. For some reason, which I'm sure, I could poke around some books and discover the reason. For some reasons, Puerto Ricans and Dominicans can call the name Taino. They will tell you they know what a Taino Indian is, and they know a native person, an indigenous person is. I was shocked when I was reading a book on the Pirate Republic and on piracy in the Caribbean. I was shocked to know that it was people referred to as Tainos as well on the island of Jamaica.
You know, hear the thing that this one, Christopher Columbus, was a damn blasted liar. When he said he discovered the Caribbean, he lied. He did not Caribbean.
There are people already there who are shamefully have been wiped
because
out.
in my mom days and before was the Arawaks.
Yes.
And the Indians.
Have you ever heard? Is there a population of people in Trinidad that are still connected to those people? Or in Trinidad, were they largely just wiped out and their history was mostly forgotten?
They were just wiped out. For instance, my father's mother was a Carib. It was the Caribs and the Arawaks in those days. My father's mother, she had carrot color hair and her skin was like white because she was a Carib. So those days was the Carib and the Arawaks.
Yeah.
But Christopher Columbus, who said he discovered, he was a damn blasted liar. He did not.
No, of course. And this is what people reckon with today is that, and this is what's so important about history is that, number one, I think that we have a cultural capacity to attach ourselves to history, which is strange to me in lands like America, where this is not some land where the people that dominate this land have some 1,000-year plus ancestral tie. The nation of America is like 500-600 years old. Like, it's not what people think as far as like to get so caught up in and Columbus wasn't even American, right? It is like, so you have people in America Columbus wasn't I don't even think he was Spanish. He was sailing for the Spanish, right? Yes. But we create these myths in our heads. We identify what is an American Anglo-Saxon white guy. What is he doing defending the legacy of Christopher Columbus? Right? What is your attachment to that? But this is a part of the nation state and everything like that. And this is why, as a man, as I grow, I don't like the idea of nationalism. I don't like the idea of attaching oneself to one's country in a way that is other than just cultural. You have these cultural ties to this place, but I'm not obliged to defend the honor of the government and this and that and the third. Yes. I have my opinions on democracy and the importance of democracy and what is special about democracy as it exists in America. But I'm not super for country, for nation. I think these things are ways of brainwashing. Yeah. I think that these things are ways of brainwashing people. Yes. I think that people becoming attached to these things ends up being real dangerous and
very dangerous.
And it's amazing to me as you and I talk, we always connect and go. It's crazy how many things we have in common that we just never knew we had in common. No. It makes me happy to hear you affirming these beliefs of mine, right? Because as I try to figure out where I get some of my proclivities from, where I get some of the way that I am, it helps me a lot to understand that I can see it in the people in my family that have come before me. Like, one thing that we talk about quite often is our relationship to music. Earlier, we both discovered that we're fans of country music.
Yes.
Right? What, for you, is your relationship to music? If you had to talk about it yourself, where does that love affair begin?
But, music is love. And if you don't love music, you don't have no love in you. Because music speaks volumes. Mm-hmm. We all go through a situation where a specific song line up with what we're going through. Yeah. You understand?
And it's at the heart of humanity, right?
Yes.
Because somebody like me who's very interested in the social sciences and has a really scientifically driven mind. Not that I am a scientist, I am not. No. But my mind gravitates towards science. It gravitates towards trying to understand history. You can have uncontacted tribes who have no contact with the rest of the modern world. They have song and dance.
Yes.
So you're right. Yes. Music is love. It is a part of this evolution in people that makes us people.
Yes.
Right? Is an appreciation for music and rhythm and the movement that comes with that. Right?
My philosophy, music have no language. Mm-hmm. You could dance to the beat of any drum. Mm-hmm. Music have no language. You could be listening to Latino, but if you have musical air, you can dance to that. Mm-hmm. I was living in St. Martin for 6 years. Mm-hmm. St. Martin is salsa, Spanish. You hear a lot of Cuatro Colenta music. Mm-hmm. You hear, and you dance to it. Because St. Martin was a cosmopolitan country. They speak 5 languages. Mm-hmm. I lived there for 6 years. Mm-hmm. And I was inclined with the culture and everything. You go to the club and you would hear a whole set of Cuatro Colenta music, which is love songs in Spanish. Mm-hmm. And if you're wise enough, you could connect or play. Music is the food of love. Mm-hmm. So I love Indian music. I don't know what it's saying.
Oh, it's phenomenal. It's funny, and this is what my favorite thing about having this podcast with you is anybody listening is able to see me and my grandmother discover things about each other. I have a playlist in my phone of not only Indian music, I have Islamic prayer calls and stuff like that. Like, music across cultures to me is just fascinating.
That's correct.
It's great. It's good stuff.
That's correct.
And I don't know where it comes from. No. I now I know where it comes from, this appreciation.
Because you have your grandmother musical air.
Yeah.
Because, for instance, somebody could tell you, I love this song. Why you love the song? They don't even understand the lyrics in the song.
And you and I are very similar in that way where when somebody asks us why we love a song, we're talking about the lyrics and we're talking about the production. Yes. We are talking about the instrumentation and everything like that too. But we're talking about the lyrics, the songwriting, why this word was such a good word to use here, this, that, and the third.
We have musical airs. Mm-hmm. We may not be a producer. Everybody have the feel in life. Mm-hmm. If I like a song, I listen keenly to what the songwriter wrote and what the song is about and what it comprehends. I don't just listen to music because no. I can tell you when I was dealing with Rastafari, there isn't a tune you couldn't tell me about. Mm-hmm. I could tell you right away. For instance, everybody loves Cape Town. Mm-hmm. I find he make noise. Mm. I don't get.
It's like speaking in tongues a little bit.
Noisy. Some people might tell you they don't like how Ghosts sing. I love how Ghosts sing. Ghost don't have no original tune of his own, but when he sing over a man tune, it's beautiful.
Or even like somebody like Buju Banton, who we could talk about on 2 levels, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, number one study of how people don't listen to lyrics is how, like, say a song like Boom Bye Bye, It is a call to violence.
That is what will make America don't like him.
Yeah.
Boom Bye Bye is a Batman song.
Because that song is quite, by modern sensibilities, we have to be honest, it's quite terrible.
It's terrible because he's sending a message to kill them.
Exactly. It is a call to arms to murder homosexuals. Correct. Which is just wrong.
And this is one of the things that didn't go for him in this country.
And this is why music is just tough, because you're trying to separate things. Untold Stories by Buju Banton is one of the most moving songs that I've ever heard in my life. Yeah. It is what I feel when I listen to Untold Stories is, and when you listen to most of his music, is this command of really religious language to make this art, where the man really was a wordsmith and an understanding of how to move people.
Well, if you listen to him then and you listen to him now, is a vast difference. And if you listen to Iwin, when Iwin sing, there's a message. Because he had this tune where he sing, one man can satisfy her. She like the blings and the thing.
And that song
but
is
then
about...
she come now and she get HIV and she try now to be a good person.
I had a friend who I was riding around with for work. We were both driving in a van, and he's of Dominican and Panamanian descent, raised Dominican, but he's also half Panamanian. And he was telling me, yo, this song that we grew up listening to and everything, did you know that this song is about... And I was like, what do you mean? Yeah. I was like, that song you're talking about right now, she needs more wood for the... That is
she needs more wood for the fire.
I was like, how about this? Not only is every West Indian aware of the message of that song, not only that, that's barbecue music. That's music you'll put on and have a good time with people.
Can't even tell you what the man is singing.
Which is strange.
One man can't satisfy her. She need more wood for the fire.
Some people think that that's like, just talking about badness, like just going out and hanging out, having a good time.
No.
The song is telling a story of it's
to
like
humble
a tragedy.
yourself as a woman.
Yeah.
Yes, you're running your body all over the place.
And it doesn't even demonize her. It says she was taken advantage of as a child. Yes. Right? The song is discussing what leads people to live these kinds of lives and chase money and glamour and freedom, but this is also somebody who was a victim.
Of course. For instance, when Richie Spice sing Earth Run Red, all this gang and blood and killing wasn't there yet. But the man visualized that this thing is going to come to pass. So he sing Earth Run Red. If you listen to the man lyrics and the music, it's just what's going on today. Listen, Peter Tosh, Mali, they say, legalize the weed. I go advertise it. Those days the government couldn't find a way to tax it. They're dead and gone. And we legalize. It legalized in Holland. You could go into a coffee shop and buy a marijuana and smoke there. Look how many, you see how much herb shop pop up in America.
Oh yeah.
These people was philosophers. You know why nobody didn't respect them? They wasn't in a church. They were prophets of their own rights. Peter Tosh and Marley was cousins, blood relative, two sisters' children. And a lot of people don't know that. Tushman was Marley's first cousin. And these people sing songs today. If you go back and listen to redemption songs.
One of my favorites. If
you go back and listen to tell the children the truth, is what's happening now.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people feel you have to be in church to be a prophet. Nobody believe in Rastafari in them days. And as I tell people, Rastafari is a religion. Not now. Rastafari is a hairstyle. I was a 12 tribe. These people believe in religion. They goes in 6 o'clock Friday and come back out 6 in the evening Saturday. The only thing that Rastafari was being condemned because of smoke marijuana. If you find a true Rasta man, he don't cheat. He don't run parties. He don't use obscene language. And his woman or his wife is his queen and his empress.
Yeah.
He don't do nothing to hurt that woman. So Rastafari now, the way people take it, is not what it's meant to be. It are true Rastafarians still living this Rastafarian life. If you meet a Bobo Shanti woman, you cannot see her wrist and you cannot see her ankle. If you meet a Bobo Shanti man, he button up from here. Could be 90 degrees or 160 in the shade. He's button up here and button up here. They don't see the skin. They don't speak profanity. Only good things come out of their mouth. They believe in having one empress that'll run women. But now, Rastafarian become a style.
Yeah.
I know Rastafarian was nothing. Everything bad happened was a Rasta man do it. I remember when he had Mother Earth, they wasn't wearing clothes. They was wearing crocus bag. They were living in the bush. The period come, they wasn't wearing pad. They was stinky. So you see, when people just talk about the Rasta, no. Rasta is 5 tribes. Bingi man don't eat salt. Bingi man don't eat meat. 12 tribes eat only chicken and drink wine. A Bingi man don't drink alcohol. So there's a lot of things to learn about the Rastafarian culture. It is not a style for a real Rasta man.
No.
It is his religion and it is his faith.
Yeah.
Rasta men, the Bobo Shanti, operate like the Jewish committee. Women on one side and men on one side.
And that's that specific sect of Rastafarianism we're talking about, the Bobo Shanti.
Orthodox Rasta the same. If a Bobo or Orthodox Rasta woman have a cycle, she has to put a red flag. So if he walks through the door, he knows she's on a cycle, he don't deal with her. She don't make food, she don't make drink, she don't make nothing for him. This is a very serious religion. But people take it as a joke.
Oh, yeah, average person wouldn't even imagine that there are different sects of Rastafarianism. There's different styles, different types that observe different things.
I'm going to tell you now, a Bobo Shanti thinks there is the most highest in the Rastafarian religion. Because a Rasta man who is a 12 tribe, a Bobo don't consider it. You was what I'm saying?
Yeah, they don't consider a regular 12 tribe Rastafarian. They don't consider them as similar to how Catholics would look at some Protestants or this and that. Or Orthodox Jewish communities.
Bobo Shantis, the people, you'd have seen a turban.
Yeah.
They feel there's the highest Rastafari in the world. Now we have a set of Rastafari goes to Israel every year. That belongs to the house of Israel. They goes away every year. Is a pilgrimage to make. They are the 12 tribe of Israel. They goes to Israel every year and visit. But people think Rastafari is just hairstyle. Nope. It's a religion. The only thing these people do bad is smoke weed. What people say is bad. And is herbs is a healing on the nation.
And that's what really kept them, I think, from getting respect as a religion, is that America ran this campaign to demonize cannabis.
Yes.
What we call weed. If you look at
what is going on now, they're raking in millions for the government because they find a way now to tax.
Oh yeah. Like if you look at, there's like propaganda films and stuff like that from like the 50s. You can trace the origin of the demonization of cannabis, and it would turn you into this, and all the black people are smoking it, and that's why they're this way and this and that. And so by the time Rastafarianism comes onto the scene on a global scale and Americans begin to recognize it, it becomes so easy to dismiss them as this group of... And also it gets bastardized. It gets bastardized by an American public who is very into the music, but not necessarily understanding many of the principles behind it. And I do think there was a good amount of people who loved Bob Marley in America because of the messages.
Every white human loved Bob Marley. And that's the only music they know is Rastafari.
And I think maybe 20% of them loved him because they truly understood what he was saying and what he stood for, and realized that this was a soldier of peace. Right? That this was...
Don't forget the man background.
Yes.
The man was a white man.
Yes.
His father was a white man.
But I think the great majority just liked the fact that Rastafari, that his music and reggae music came with weed smoking to them. And those people distorted the image and stopped people from really understanding.
What do they call them? Hippies.
Yeah. But Bob Marley was in the vein of a lot of the artists out there that a lot of Americans were championing, that were championing the everyman, the normal human being,
Correct.
rights and freedom for everyone. And he fits so squarely into the revolution, the hippie revolution, everything that was happening across the world and mainly in America, that counterculture revolution.
Correct.
People seem to only remember the smoking of weed. They forget how much he fit into the mold of what the people wanted to see, of what people wanted for themselves, of freedom, of love.
Yes.
This whole thing, it is a,
yeah.
How should we say this? It is a, shoot, what is it? The word is escaping me now, but it is a crescendo.
Yes.
It is a crescendo. This thing that it's a wave that comes up from the ocean and rises high, right? Is this it's something that you can't escape if you look at if you look at everything happening in culture, mainstream and counterculture.
It was sung by Marley.
Bob Marley was a perfect example and product of his time.
Listen to what Bob Marley said. Tell the children the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to that song keenly and carefully.
Mm-hmm.
Tell the children the truth.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of Marley's biggest and truest songs.
Mm-hmm.
Tell the children the truth. I believe at the end of this podcast, you should incorporate that song in.
Mm-hmm.
And then people understand the logic of Marley.
Mm-hmm.
Because Babylon system is what we're living in now.
Yeah, of course.
They try to make us into what they want to make us to be. So people don't understand. Everybody you think every Rasta in America is a Rasta. They got dreads on the head, but they're not Rastafarian.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you that now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And even the difference between just because somebody call you Ras don't mean you're a Rastafarian, right? Just because somebody say I'm a Ras don't mean that.
Because
could just
they
mean,
see it, they figure, oh, Rastaman. If a true Rastaman see me on the street, you will never say Ras. You say Empress. And if a true Rastaman see me, he will bow. You don't use words. And go about the business. Because it's sacred to see an Empress. Because these people believe in His Selassie. His Selassie is not my God. I told you that on the last podcast. My God is the true and living God and the Most High God. His Selassie was a man, just like me and you. He was an earthly king. But he can't be God. No way, no how. So whenever we're ready to end the broadcast, we will end it with Marley, Tell the Children the Truth. It's a very powerful song. You understand me? So when you see people out there running around, Marley was a prophet in his own hands. He wasn't ordained in the church. The man was a philosopher. Everything he speak come to pass. Tushman was his scene. Tushman sang a song, Uno Vampire Sucking the Blood of the Nation. That song is a powerful song. You understand me?
Yeah.
Because they were two sisters children. Marley died from cancer. Some CIA come now and say he killed Marley. Tushman was murdered, chopped up in his own home by a machete. But if them was alive, Jacob Killer Miller was a powerful youth too. I don't know if you ever hear about Jacob Miller.
No, I'll certainly go back.
Was a good youth. These were powerful song writers and musical men out of Jamaica. Jamaica had powerful singers. Reggae is them thing. Calypso and music is beating. Every culture have the thing.
Yeah.
But when I always say God gave Jamaican the gift of singing. They could sing. Yeah. Don't take that from them.
Yeah.
They could sing.
I'm reminded of a lot of legendary soul artists when I go back and I listen to Bob Marley and stuff like that, because I listen to a lot of older music. I'm reminded of the soul scene that was going on at the time, right? Which has a lot of its roots steeped in freedom and the story of struggle, right? But you can just hear this time where phenomenal artists of different walks of life were influencing and bouncing off of each other. and really creating something powerful. But you're right, the amount of, and it's not just that they were talented singers, it's what they stood for. At some point, Jamaica was just mass producing this army of philosophical questioning of the power structure, of disappointment in the society they saw around them,
yes,
of wanting better for the youth, and of questioning what they are told by the government and the power structure. But of questioning what the power structure is laying down, which I think is a fundamental human aspect that we will deal with until the end of time, is trying to make sure that this social construct that we have signed with the powers that be to keep us all safe in a better civilization, that they're being held to task for doing right by the people, specifically the youth and the younger generation.
Yes. When Marley sing Babylon System Falling Down, I will listen to this tune tonight, because when you come back again, we can have a topic on that. It's what's going on now.
Yeah.
Babylon system is a vampire. They're sucking the blood of the nation. Look what they're doing to poor man.
And this is what I tell people now when people question the education system, and I say the government's concern is not for the majority of citizens to be well educated. They will say that as their concern because that is the mark of a good civilization. However, their goal is what you said, the vampirism. Their goal is to create well-functioning taxpayers. Their goal is to create people who fill job positions, pay taxes in order to serve their country. They need about 10 to 15% of people to be amazing scientists, amazing this, so that they can point to the rest of the world and say, look what we have. Or so that people can make the mass weapons, or people can make the new scientific discovery that keeps America in the thick of things. But for 80% of people, America is only concerned with you being a tax-paying, alive
you have
citizen.
To be a taxpayer citizen. If you don't pay a tax, you're not recognized. You're nobody.
They don't care whether or not you can read critically.
No.
They only care that the average American has no critical reading comprehension skills when another country shames them for it. But that's not really the purpose of your average American, right? You serve to help move oxygen through the bloodstream of the nation.
And as Marty say, the significant color of my eye is not the color of my skin. I could be black with blue eyes. I'm not recognized. And because they say it's a genetic genes when I'm black and I have blue eyes. But when it's a white man, not discriminating nobody, to say it's hereditary. Oh yeah, my grandmother was Irish.
And that's something you see a lot in Jamaicans as well. You see a lot of Jamaicans with gray and blue colored eyes.
Because Jamaica and St. Vincent and Grenada is highly Irish people, because the sailors come ashore. For instance, Keith is mixed with Irish. You see the kind of hair here, complexion, eye skin. As another friend, she's red and high color. She mixed with Irish, because those days the sailors come ashore. My grandmother was Carib. My father never knew his father because he was a sailor. That's how it was in those days. That's why Sparrow sing Gina and Dinah. When the sailors come ashore, you get them all for nothing. You understand what I'm saying? So that's how it used to be. If people go back into the culture, they'll be more educated about life. We belong to the Babylon system, as they call us. Because we wasn't born in the 30s and the 40s and the 20s. So we belong to the Babylon system. But what they don't realize, the Babylon system failing, because we now, as slaves and black, we educating ourselves about a lot of things. Remember, they used to say we can't read, we can't write. But now, we have a black president. We have. They can't fool us no more.
No.
The veil is moved.
No, because it was all a massive PR campaign anyway. Every single human being walking the earth right now is of the same evolved status to understand and do. Yeah, you have stuff you're better at, you have stuff you can't. Some people don't read and write as well as that. But every human being is capable of reading and writing all those things they try to convince that some races, quote unquote, which I don't even,
I remember when I now came here, what they used to call us, housekeepers. The grandmother asked me if we have electricity in our country, if I know how to iron. I said, no, we don't have no electricity. I don't know how to iron no clothes. You think she meant good? You think she was trying to find out of my culture?
No.
She was trying to discriminate me. So I gave her just what she wanted. I said, no, we don't have no electricity. I don't know how to iron. If I had said yes, it would have been incorporated in my task. But since you're so foolish to think where I come from, have no electricity in 2002, so be it, no?
And this is also something that that you'll see in enslaved African populations. If you go back and study African history as a whole, right, is where I think we're in a generation now that is obsessed with proving to white people globally what we can achieve, which I totally understand. But you do see a history of slaves in America, or just black people everywhere who are perfectly fine allowing white people to drown in their own ignorance. And it makes our lives a little easier, right? Because all you want to know is what I can do so that you can demand it of me in an unfair way and pay me as little as possible for it.
Yes.
So fine.
Okay.
You don't think I can do this? I don't do this. You don't ask me to do it, and I don't have to serve you.
If you think I'm stupid, I'm stupid.
Of course.
I'll show you how stupid I am.
Right. But we learned that survival is more important than pride.
Correct.
Right now, survival is not as big as
sin.
Yeah. Right now, survival is not the biggest issue for a lot of people, so pride comes first.
Pride is going to kill any human.
Yeah. We also know, speaking of pride coming first, we know that it comes before the fall as well.
Correct.
We'll wrap this up because people have given us a lot of time. I think we. Yes. Now that's what I will say. I won't be able to play it for copyright reasons.
Okay.
But I want to end by saying, "Tell the Children the Truth" is a song that I think anybody who's made it to the end of this podcast, I think to bookend this podcast the proper way.
Yes.
I think it's very important for you now that this podcast is ending to go on whatever streaming or whatever YouTube or whatever it is you use to listen to music. And for my grandmother and I, please, we would love if you would listen to Tell the Children the Truth by Bob Marley. I love you, Grandma, and thank you for doing this with me.
Thank you.